Welcome to Market Matters Friday Takeaway. I'm Nadia Hassan, she's Charlotte Chong. And of course, we are here actually in the wonderful Edge office where we are completely not afraid of showing you our balls. So yes, we're talking about the market for how it went this week, talking about ballsy. The fact is it actually went up 2% week on week, as you can see on the graph. Overall today, it was a red day, 0.31% down after a few days of maybe premature happiness or technical or dead cat bounce or dead mouse bounce. It depends on which phrase you actually want to use. But actually, in general, I think ASEAN just didn't do well.
Not just KLCI, the whole Asian region is a sea of red today. Asian shares sleep on the reverse of oil rally and investors remain cautious about the global economy. We are going to talk more about oil prices later on. Nikkei 225 down 1.42%. Hang Seng Index down as well 0.4% to 19,000 points. Still, doubts about how much other countries, non-OPEC countries especially, will cooperate have weighed on investors. Investors are adopting a wait-and-see attitude whether they should buy more on oil, which has actually pledged to increase output sharply to regain market share.
You're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of yourself. Mostly because we are going to talk about that in a minute. But the first thing that actually probably helped raise the markets this week was the fact that the Malaysian economies grew higher than expected. You know, I was at lunch when I got the flash. You know, it's like
yesterday.
It grew 5%. I showed it around the table, and all of them were like, "Are you kidding me? Is that really what happened?" So yeah, it actually grew 4.5% in fourth quarter. It's still the slowest since 3Q13. It's still definitely over expectations. Hence the gasp of surprise around the lunch table.
So overall for last year, FY15, we saw about 5% growth for the entire year due to stronger than expected consumer spending and rebound in exports activity. But the thing is, Chong was right actually, because how could you measure a country's economy based on just one figure? We have a lot of things. We have consumer spending, we have private consumption and all that. How could we actually measure or wait on just one figure to tell the health of this country?
No, true. I think it's one part of the story, but you know, when you explain yardsticks to people, GDP is a yardstick, and it's one of those things they will almost at a glance take and see. You and Chong probably do agree that there's more to it than that, but if you want it at a quick glance and you want to see how it is, GDP is one of those numbers that will continue to be a barometer. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and they did say that you will be, well, talking about different views, you will be overseas economist Julia Goh. She is not convinced, but they tend not to be cautious on the domestic economy for the first half of 2016. I'm getting the same story over and over again. They're saying that the first half is going to be almost near, they're stopping muted. Short of saying it's a write-off, and they're saying only the second half of the year. Do you think that is the case?
I think for the first half of 2016, it would be muted. Like what MIDF said in its report today, they maintain its expectation for GDP growth in 2016 at 4.4%. So with the first quarter of 2016 to be at 4.2%.
Do you believe them?
I believe it's going to be muted. I think it's going to be pretty pessimistic for the first half of this year because of the spending power of the consumers.
Well, and consumer sentiment in Malaysia is the lowest. I think you don't get excited about this number, but you should also question what drove this number. I think that's very important. But let's move on to what actually sort of made us upset this week, aside from tourists handling dead dolphins, was the fact that, and I think this is very relevant, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni actually banned social media on election day. It's not new, by the way, he has done it before. In his rhetoric, he did say to you that, look, I want to do it so there's stability in the country, I don't want people putting out false reports. And how well do you think this went down?
I just hope that other presidents from other countries don't get bright ideas from this, to ban down social media on that day itself, election.
Exactly, and the fact is, this guy has been in power for 30 years. He made a rule in the resolution, in the actual sort of documents of government saying, by the way, I can rule till I die.
Exactly. Now he is 72 years old.
But that's apparently a lie.
He started in 1986 when he was about 42 years old.
Yes.
So it's already 30 years old. 1986, I wasn't born at that time.
Yeah, but think about it, his age might be a lie, right?
So people actually say that, people actually argue that he's actually probably 75, 76 years old, but he has to declare that he has to say that he is above 75 because that's the age limit to be a president in Uganda.
Exactly. So this is a load of crock because call yourself a democratic country or call yourself a democratic process, you might as well just elect yourself the land, what do you call it, the dictator of Banana King land, and it will be fine. You do not have to actually go and do all this and shut down social media. Again, and we cannot emphasize this enough, we hope nobody gets this bright idea that this is the way it's supposed to be. There's only so much freedom they take away, and you know what's the best thing? People think nothing's going to change.
Yeah. So actually, President Museveni, he defended the ban as a security measure to avert lies intended to incite violence and illegal declaration.
I'm not going to trust somebody who has the bad rap song that we actually...
Did you see that?
We had to listen to his bad rap song where he basically kept rapping that he should be elected another year. Okay, before we move on to one of the biggest topics, of course, for this week, I do have to say that, there's no right time to this presidential degree. Obama has 2 terms, which is 8 years.
Yeah.
But in 4 years, the first 4 years, all you're concentrating on is getting elected for the next 4 years. So you can't really make any sweeping changes. That system doesn't really work because you don't get big changes. At the same time, you get guys like this who don't stay in. So,
but probably Uganda has a different measures.
They
changed the policy in 2005. They sort of just make the age limit to go higher and higher. And what is worse, Museveni has been in power since 1986, that's what we said. And last year in an interview, he actually told CNN that homosexual or gay people are disgusting.
Yes, and he thinks they should be jailed for life. Wonderful man, wonderful man. But okay, just to, the other thing that actually also brought us up a little bit this week, and that's what actually brought the markets up, was the Saudis and the Russians. Worst comedy show ever or the best playing idea? So basically oil prices saw their worst month. We're talking about 27, 26. Goldman Sachs was saying 20, that's what we're going to see before the rout actually lifts.
People actually say that it would tank to 10. But I think it's sort of like a good news for Malaysia, because Malaysia is a net oil exporting country. So it sort of bump up our KLCI and also some of our ringgit as well.
So the one we're talking about is that Saudi Arabia and Russia, which are the 2 biggest producers, by the way, of oil, something random about 10 billion barrels a day, have decided to freeze oil output near the record levels. But it's significant because this is the first time that OPEC and non-OPEC have actually got along. And like I said, they're the biggest producers, but they only have Qatar and Venezuela on. They do not have Iran, who's just recently had their sanctions lifted on.
But I think oil prices are still under pressure. Oil prices actually grew up a little bit this week, but US crude inventories actually rose by 2.1 million barrels last week to a peak of 504.1 million. And also Iran, I don't think they want to be in this, this deal, because they just got lifted their sanction and they want to win market share.
You know what they said or not? They said actually, we are happy that you are taking these measures, but they didn't say whether or not they will participate. They actually participate. So here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that may go wrong. A lot of people don't believe this is actually going to work. They actually do think also, and there's this allegation that OPEC actually lies about its output anyway.
So what happened was Russia may cheat again, and the non-OPEC producer, because last time when they had this discussion, Russia actually did not participate in this deal, which was not what they say initially.
You put a knife to somebody's throat enough and you put the pressure on, let's see what they actually do. But even OPEC, you know how much they say they go out? Some people actually doubt that that's right. They say they actually overstate, saying, I give you 10 barrels, but actually, we make 10 barrels when actually, they only make like 5. So they actually overstate, and the cut may mean nothing. But in the end, it's still a freeze and not a cut. We have to actually still see how this actually pans out. We are actually ridiculously out of time for this because the subjects have been running a lot this week. As always, if you actually want more, go read a book or go read the paper, which is actually out tomorrow. And of course, the website is us. I'm Nadia, she's Charlotte. Have a good weekend, guys.